Hello, it's October 31st, 2024. Happy Halloween to everybody. This is the weekly Backdrop developer meeting where we get together and talk about development priorities for Backdrop CMS. We only have a small group here today, but we'll do introductions as usual. My name is Nate Lampton. I'm Quick Sketch on the internet. I'm the technical lead and one of the co-founders of the Backdrop project. We'll start with Martin and then we'll go to Eli.
Hello, I'm Martin Price. I'm a backdrop developer based in Northeast England, working mainly in Contrib and a few little bits in Core here and there. Um, Go to Eli.
Hello, my name is Eli. I'm a developer for Giant Rabbit, and I'm in San Diego, California.
Thanks, guys. All right, it was a great week in the world of Backdrop. We got in the first major new feature for Backdrop 1.30, the fast token browser in Core. That is this issue here. So this was merged just day before yesterday, and looks like we still need to change record for this. But this is yet another contributed
There is
module.
a draft. There is a draft
Oh yeah.
change record, so you'll probably be able to see it when you're logged in.
Okay, I'll do that after the meeting. But yeah, that's great. Oh, here we go. You cross-posted it. Thank you. Fantastic. So that's excellent. This is the first feature that we've gotten into the 1.30 milestone. Huge thanks to Archie Piano, who spearheaded the code changes on this, but also Herbdool, who was the advocate for this issue. And Martin, you as well for the reviewing and now for making the change log. So yeah, excellent collaboration and work. I'm pretty stoked about this. Summarizing what this does, I wish I could pull back up the sandbox because I didn't prepare a separate demo before the meeting. But the short of it is the fast token browser, when you open it, it doesn't load all of the entire token tree all at once. Instead, it only loads the top level. And then as you click, it expands recursively and dynamically one layer at a time, making it so that even if your site were to have millions of tokens, it will load sufficiently, like one thing at a time. I guess maybe if you expanded a field list inside of Node, it would probably take a while, but it won't like recursively scan, which also does open up this kind of scary possibility that we actually now can handle recursive tokens because the token browser won't have any problem filling it out, and neither will the token swapper because that is already recursive. So yeah, now I'm just saying that. I'm like, well, I guess that's the way that it is now. Right? The only thing that was preventing recursive tokens before was literally the user interface for it. And I mean, you could have recursive tokens, could and did already have recursive tokens. You just couldn't display a UI for it. But now that's no longer a problem thanks to Fast Token Browser. Huh. Martin, do you have anything you wanted to add about that?
No, this is quite a something I've been quietly hoping for a long time because it's one of those modules I ported where I've often felt out of my depth with all the JavaScript. So I'm quite pleased it's got into core and it's going to be off my hands. So
Yeah. Yeah, great job, RG Piano, for coming in here and taking that leap where it needed a refactor. Everybody's like, yeah, this would be a great core feature, but everybody that commented on it said, but the JavaScript is pretty crufty and probably needs some reworking. And he did exactly that. He largely
did a great job.
rewrote the JavaScript and it works great. So yeah, excellent conversion of a contrib module into a core one. This update does also, when you run it, it is one of those updates that it will detect the contributed module if it's present, forcibly uninstall the contributed module,
Oh, will it?
post a message during the update.php process saying that the module has been disabled, and then it will gray out the checkbox to re-enable it inside of the user interface because it's part of the backdrop merged modules. When a module gets merged fully into core and you no longer need the original one, then that's our process for merging something into a part of a core module. Yeah, that was like the last thing, Martin, was I was like,
Mm.
we need a mechanism to handle that transition. The last thing we did this on, let's see. Let's look at the pull request. So yeah, here we go. So this little module here, or this, sorry, this little function, backdrop merged modules.
Yeah.
These are modules that got merged into parts of other modules. So token module got merged into the system module. Path auto got merged into path. Transliteration got merged into
Yeah.
language module, I think. Yeah, it's kind of cool. And project
Oh,
browser got
right.
merged into installer module. Yeah, options element is now part of option module. Yeah, it's
I'll
kind of
have
cool.
to.
Kind of cool to see yeah, the historical progress. It's been a long time since we've done this. As you can see, image cache token was the last one we did 13 releases ago. Yeah, and then the update hook just
Yes.
finds it and then deletes it from the table.
Eli's just asked if B would still download if requested, and yes, it will as long as the well, B has two ways of downloading, so it'll either go for the latest release from GitHub, or it will offer to download the dev version. So yes, B would still download it if necessary, but I'm guessing it might not enable it because it uses the core enabling function, so I presume it wouldn't enable it.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's something I ran into with a couple other modules as well. I wanted to look into at some point.
Yeah, I was gonna go and double check, but I'm pretty sure that backdrop, I couldn't even find the module, maybe, or the function name. Maybe it's backdrop install modules. I'm pretty sure that it actually does a check directly in there to see if it's part of the merged list and will just not enable it. It will probably just return false. So yeah, B would download it, but it probably can't turn it on. Okay, let's see, we'll move on from fast token browser. This little change was committed, looks like, okay, yeah, that was in the last week. Yeah, that was on Friday last week. So this little change was proposed that we just remove a workaround for MySQL 5.1, or sorry, 5.0. And I went ahead and merged this one, but we have a follow-up commit here. Follow-up issue, this one. So multiple important people, Laren and Herb, both of which are core committers, and Gozella. Hasn't been a lot of comments on this, but there's been basically our entire technical lead has agreed that this is an acceptable and desirable move to increase our minimum PHP version from 5.0 to MySQL 5.5. Even MySQL 5.5 hasn't been supported since 2018. It came out in 2010, so over 13 years ago, 14 years ago. And we don't really have the practical capability even to adequately test versions of MySQL that are that old. MySQL 5, 5.1 through 5.4, even just finding a place that can run them is like beyond our ability to like test. And so we shouldn't be saying that the minimum version is so old when we ourselves aren't able to test that level of code. So starting with Backdrop 1.30 will move forward the minimum version for MySQL. This is kind of analogous to when we moved forward our PHP minimum version, which is now 5.6. Same sort of thing where it's like, it was so hard to test older versions of PHP that and they just it started disappearing from everywhere that we kind of had to move it forward. So yeah, so that's coming down the pipe. I really don't expect this will be much of a disruption. Our telemetry, which we have to make these kinds of decisions, is very useful. That although we still need to work on sorting this chronologically, that would be a big help. But yeah, you can see our MySQL versions. 5.7 seems to be very popular with 27%. So, and then MySQL 8 with another 27%. So now those two combined make up more than half. And then you start getting into a couple of MariaDB versions, 10.6, 10.11, bringing in another quarter basically. But let's see where 5.5 is in here. 5.6, 5.5. So there's 186 sites that are reporting 5.5. There's 0 that are reporting 5.4. And I noted in the original issue that these MySQL 5.5 sites are misleading. That up until a couple of releases ago, I think it's only been about maybe 4 months, that we fixed this bug that MariaDB, every version, was reporting as MySQL 5.5. And so unless all of those sites have been updated that were reporting incorrectly before, these 5.5 numbers, the 6% that are reporting here, there's a really good chance that the large majority of these are actually MariaDB numbers. So they're probably like version 10.11 or 10.5 or some other MariaDB version, because the way that MariaDB was reported to its connector was basically pretending to be MySQL 5.5 for compatibility reasons. And it's kind of faking us out, intentionally trying to fake out MySQL, also faked out our telemetry data. So it did what it was supposed to. Where when we were scrubbing the version number, we were basically doing the same thing you would reasonably do, which is why it trips up MySQL, or tricks MySQL, and it tricked us too. So anyway, I think it's a super safe move. And hooray for telemetry to be able to back that kind of decision up. Excellent. Looks like Irina has just joined our little group here. Hi, Irina. Welcome to the meeting. You know what, Irina? I did not mention the excellent BADCamp event last week. We were not present in the meeting last week because of BADCamp, which happened on Thursday and Friday. And the Friday was the big day for us as a Backdrop community, because we had the Backdrop Summit at BADCamp, and it was a big success. We had over 20 people attend for over 3 hours, almost 4 hours actually, because the audience was so captivated. They drug Jen speaking all the way halfway through lunch. They didn't want to go. So it was a huge success. Irina says in the chat, I'm joining for a couple of minutes to say thank you so much for the amazing summit. Irina, do you have audio?
I do have audio, but I have meeting at 12:30, so I wanted to stop by. I got an email notification and I wanted to say thanks a lot. At 12:30, I have a very interesting meeting, because we're launching site that we migrated from Drupal 7 to Backdrop. It is for a small construction company in Salt Lake Tahoe, and they have open source component to their software. So to me, it's a great example of how Backdrop is best fit. The site had forum and advanced forum. From the technical perspective, if developers care, since it's a developers meeting, I think that one of the tools that I'm using, which is called D2B module. So when I'm pulling information about modules, I'm like, okay, advanced forum is stated as not migrated. But the reality is that features that used to be in advanced module somehow were merged into regular forum. So I'm thinking for developers meeting to add another status that says it's not in core, but it's merged with another module, which was a very interesting experience. And also we moved this site under 20 hours, which
Wow.
is kind of unheard of. And it's not like, oh, we'll give you a break. It is really honest under 20 hours with several user reviews, with reasonably complex site, with newsletters, forums, moving all the users, moving everything. So my hope is to do a case study when I have time, when I'm not moving sites, which is hard to find. If there are any writers who would like to join me, I'd be very grateful. And thank you so much again. And I'm very much looking forward to Backdrop Live and couple of meetings on November, I don't remember, 14 or 15. Drupal Forge is including Backdrop there, and it's a mainstream tool. So I think we're doing a little better this year delivering information for the good use cases for Backdrop. So thank you very much, and I'll be back with more bugs.
Okay. Thanks, Irina. Oh, how delightful. Wow, that's excellent. That's a really great story. And I'll ask Irina more about that, or we'll get more information hopefully in the near future. I wanted to ask her if she actually launched the site in 20 hours, which I wouldn't put past her. All right, we're gonna go back to the agenda here. Yeah. Yeah, and sorry, I skipped the opening part where we normally talk about news a little bit and upcoming events, and that's how I overlooked talking about Bad Camp, which was phenomenal. But yeah, in 2 weeks, actually 2 weeks from today, is the start of Backdrop Live, which is November 14th and 15th. And Backdrop Live is free online event. It's entirely distributed. It takes place over Zoom, and yeah, it's free. It's free to attend, and we normally have like 40 or 50 people hop in. So we're a great place to get some personal attention, and if you have something to share, a great low pressure place to share your Backdrop experiences. Most of the sessions are not recorded. It's intended that way, to encourage people to be there, be live, and be present, hence the name Backdrop Live. So an experience you can only get by attending.
The schedule's filling up quite well. But there is still always space for if you've got another topic, then we'll always find room.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That yeah, there's already a lot of open slots, but if they really fill up, we'll add another track. Because yeah, we've got the space for that. But normally there's 2 sessions at a time. Looks like 3 in this case. That's actually why. See, this is a popular slot, and so I added another column here for third track. Yeah, I haven't checked these out. That looks great.
Yeah, it really filled up. Now I'm suddenly having trouble deciding what I'm going to show up to.
Excellent. It's a great problem. All right. So going back to topics for, I wanted to say one more thing about 1.30. because oh, that's not where I want to be. I want to be in the 130 milestone. Yeah, like I said, it was a great week for core. We updated CKEditor to the latest version. That was just 4 days ago. Hooray! Yay! So we were fully up to date. We were fully up to date for about 2 days, and then a new version of CKEditor came out, which is why we didn't close this issue, because we're like, there's going to be more, and so we left it open. But yeah, we were for a couple of days fully up to date with CKEditor 5, and we're only updating the CKEditor 5 library in the next minor version. So come January, whatever version of CKEditor is out, we hope that we'll be running the very latest version. That's hilarious. Yay, we have other people dropping in. We had Laren hop in. Hi, Laren. Welcome to the meeting.
Thank you.
Do you have any topics you'd like to discuss today?
I wanted to just check the status on that link field one, and then there was one about renaming the layout template functions, a few layout template functions that had a note that it should go in relatively early in the cycle and not get merged right towards the end when the release is almost ready. So just to raise that one again.
Yeah, great. Let's see, that other one, is that in the 1.30 milestone? The renaming? I think it is.
I think so. I'll double check it. Well, if you want to keep going,
Oh yeah, here it is. Hook layout info should be renamed hook layout template info.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's already in the minor milestone. It has a pull request. Okay, yeah, it looks like yeah, this was right before the release of 129. Okay, so even I said this is all good, but it looks like we might need a final pass on it to give it the approval. Looks like you also had a question here if we wanted to.
It may be more than what we want to do, but I think there may still be a few places where we're using the word layout and we mean layout template, but
Yeah, layout flexible. Yeah, it's already namespaced in a way, but yeah, you're right that it's not clear that it's a template. My first take on that is doesn't need to be all at once. And then
yeah, I don't feel too strongly about that one.
yeah, and that it's already pretty good. So okay, thanks for flagging that. I'll try to prioritize this one. Great call out on trying to get it in sooner rather than later. That was the same mentality we had around CKEditor updates. And so yeah, let's try to make good on what we said we want to do. Okay, yeah, this link field one has been updated recently. I'm glad that I'm not the only person that gets called out during these meetings. Yeah, but I looked at this recently after RGPiano did the most recent refactor, but I haven't left a full review yet, and it looks really good. So he successfully combined all of the link field attributes into one big form API property, link field options. And then somewhere in here, yeah, here it is. He provides a default list of options that are all of the things that then populate inside of that link field options. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with the overall shape of this pull request. I really like where it's ending up. I still am a little hesitant about the entire capability. but I see where I can see where the request is that link fields do a lot of stuff, and it would be nice to be able to use it outside of use the form API element outside of the link element, link field. I'm also inclined to, I don't think that this is a bug necessarily. I'm inclined to say this should be a feature and then put it in the 1.30 milestone. Also, I just feel a little bit better about what Laren just said, that, you know, we give it a little bit of time in the 1.30 milestone, and that will give other modules time to adjust to the future capability potentially. Yeah, so looks like this is on our plates here to give a review. And I don't think I have much else to say about it other than RGPiano. Thank you again for the updates and your patience. All right. Let's see, I don't think I had some of these I copied over from last week's agenda because I wasn't here, and so I wanted to just revisit them. But these other two issues that were flagged from last week, add Apple MIME types, seems really straightforward, and it just needs some review. So I don't really have much to say about this one other than, yay, let's close the gap on this and make this happen. And IndigoZella flagged when uninstalling comment module, some of the fields that are created by comment module, the instance config files are not fully deleted. So this is a bug where it's not fully uninstalled. Looks like it also creates some PHP notices because it looks like the field is deleted, but the instances are not. So that's a little problematic. So I have not looked at this pull request. Looks like both RGPiano and Alan Mells have pull requests. I'm guessing Alan may have originally filed it, and RGPiano looks like he's pulling it into the finish line, which is great. Thank you, folks.
It looks like he was saying that's not just related to comment in some of his comments right at the end there, RGPiano, that it's a little broader apparently.
I'm reading it. 1 minute. At some point, perhaps it'd be a good idea to refactor field invoke get instances or related functions to include zombie instances of fields attached to entity types that don't exist anymore. Okay. Yeah, so it looks like this is probably a pragmatic, immediate fix. And then later, there might be a bigger
Yeah,
set
I think
of
he was
stuff
saying
to-
with custom entities that are fieldable of a similar issue.
Interesting. Actually, this is not what I would have expected here, where he's removing field to delete field. So that intentionally leaves the comment body field intact. And then oh, okay, never mind. This is actually, I see what he's doing. So in hook modules uninstalled, it's then checking for modules that provide hook entity info and then removing the associated fields and instance data from that module. This makes a lot of sense, but it is a big, I thought that this was going to be like a small fix, like the temporary fix, but this looks like it might be a more comprehensive fix, which is great. My commentary on this is going to be the usual, that we'll need test coverage. But this is great because this will solve any module that provides an entity type, like comments are an entity type. And so this cleans up the fields and data related to that entity type when the module's uninstalled. Looks great. It's possible even that we may already have a test that checks to make sure if comment module is deleting its tables, and that it might be passing, but I'm skeptical that that exists because at the very least, we should be editing the test to do this exact thing, like check to make sure not only the field is gone, but also the instance is gone. So even if we do have a test, it needs to be expanded to cover this new scope. But if we don't have a test, that whole test should be added, and it can be added as part of comment module to make sure this exact problem is solved. But yeah, this is great. Need some review. Okay. I think that's all of the topics I really had to discuss today. So I'll open the floor if anybody wants to add on any additional topics.
I mean, I could talk about commerce quickly in the contrib space if that's something you want to cover, and I could also not do that.
Yeah, I mean, I would be happy to talk about that. I'm not very familiar with commerce other than I had a site that was using commerce, and when I ported it to Backdrop, I made it not use commerce.
That's fair enough. We didn't. Well, I guess technically we had that option, but it seemed really difficult. What I will say is we've done work on the port for commerce, and I think it is mostly in a good spot and working. I've taken over that repo to make that happen. The one that had all the old stuff in it. I only haven't tagged a release because I'm having a lot of trouble getting the tests working or running at all. There's some very strange issue with simple XML import DOM choking on like a node type that it's not choking on in other places. So that one's kind of sticky, and I think I won't have like a real release for a while until I get that figured out with the tests. But otherwise, I think it's technically mostly working, and maybe we should get a couple more eyes on it.
I've in the past when I've ported modules that have got tests and I haven't been able to get the tests working, I sometimes just create an issue to say the tests aren't working. I've left them in there but release it anyway if the functionality works. Sometimes it's worth getting it out there.
Or potentially an alpha release to get more people able to test it quickly.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I would like to at least have them running, I think. Just because it's a pretty big code base and we only have a few people looking at it before we get like a whole bunch of issues opened from the public, it would be awesome to like at least have them running.
Martin and Laren, do you guys have any experience, or can you recall any projects that have integrated with GitHub Actions to run the testing, like as a contrib module?
I steal from IndigoZilla a lot. And I recently did that for XML sitemap. It runs the test and also PHP Stan with coding standards and stuff. So if you look in XML sitemap, you can see kind of one way that's done to get it running on each pull request, I think. Yeah.
Which that's a step further, obviously, than what you're trying to do, which is just get them running at all. But
yeah, definitely. That would be cool. I was maybe going to ask about that eventually, if that's something that is possible with Contrib. I know it is. Yeah, so that's cool.
We've got GitHub Actions running on B, but we use a different testing framework. But it's quite different from the regular Backdrop testing, and because B tests both single site and multi-site, it does it using Lando, and it uses PHP unit, so it's a bit different. But yeah, GitHub Actions work well on Backdrop Contrib as well. So
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that'll be something for me to learn. It'll be kind of nice. PHP unit is basically what I have experience with and not all the other stuff.
Well,
For the
this is
most
very-
part, the stuff that IndigoZilla has done is fairly portable, with, you know, variables for the repo name and stuff, so you don't have to change much on a lot of it, to be honest.
Do you
Cool.
know
All right, yeah, I'll look at that.
where does she keep the canonical version of that? Is there one?
I usually go check internationalization.
The I18N module?
Yeah.
IndigoZilla is everywhere. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, code checks and functional tests. Just share my screen real quick just to show the rest of the world what we're looking at. So yeah, this is a contrib project, I18N. Make a .github directory just like you would for running any other kind of action. And inside of workflows, yeah, let's take a look at code checks. So yeah, PHP stan and PHP CS checks out the backdrop ops PHP CS rules and runs it. PHP stan, PHP CS. Excellent. And I'm guessing for internationalization, because a contrib module, even internationalization, which is a big module, it looks like IndigoZilla at some point probably went through and corrected all of the PHP-CS coding standards in the entire module, because this just runs against the whole module to make sure that there's no PHP-CS errors in the whole thing, which ideally is where we want to be for core, but it takes a while. We're kind of slowly chipping away at it, a couple files at a time.
Yeah, and I think like if you look down a few directories here in the .github directory or the PHP standards like baseline. So there are some things that are known issues that are indicated as like, don't flag these every time I know that they're, you know, they're coming up as an issue. And I don't know if those are filed as issues to be fixed individually and then sort of hidden from the run.
Yeah, no, these look like they're intentional because like this function will never be found inside of this repository because it exists in core. And so yeah, there's kind of like explicit ignore capabilities. This is interesting
Cool.
that you put it in here. There's usually an inline way of ignoring things as well, but yeah, this is great. Yeah. Oh, this is a lot smaller than I expected too. You know, check out core, check out the actual repository, set up Apache, install Backdrop with install.sh, and then run tests with runtests.sh. Really straightforward. Let's take a look at what they look like. So, oh, here we go.
So, yeah, there you go.
Wow. It's funny. Normally there's a log. Maybe I'm just not looking in the right spot.
Or maybe it's old enough that the log is gone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. Because they only last for a month. So, yeah. Still.
Check XML sitemap. You might see one that's still current enough.
Laren trying to fix a test. This is great. That I'm guessing this test is currently failing until it was commented out, and so now you're trying to fix it.
Yeah, well, initially this was sort of not my goal of getting these running, but I was they were running, you know, years ago. And then I tried a separate PR and I realized they were just failing completely because the, .github folder was all massively outdated. So I copied all of her most recent stuff and then was trying to get it going. And then she actually came in here and was helping me get the PHP stand, figured out, and actually made a few PRs to help get us there. But yeah, so we're getting closer. Well, and that was actually, that one that you're looking at there was actually a test that is fully commented out even in D7. And I was like, I'm just curious, if I uncomment this, what's the problem with the test? Why did they comment it out? So I just was testing it a little bit and then ran out of time on it.
Oh, I see.
But-
So you from this, there's somewhere in here, there's probably a start comment somewhere. So you uncommented most of it, but then there was like this little section here is still commented out. Maybe.
Yeah, and that test doesn't run at all in Drupal 7, so.
Great. Okay. Well, anyway, I don't want to detract too much from the original call to action, which was please help get commerce modules tests running. And in GitHub Actions would be icing on the cake, but for now, we're mostly just talking about running them through the user interface, right? That's where you're seeing the failures. Is that right?
I mean, user interface or CLI, either way. It's
Okay.
yeah, I think they're mostly ready to run. And there's one big error in like the base test, and I'm trying to figure it out. That's about it. Thanks for the tour though. The GitHub Actions thing is really cool. Once they're running, I'll definitely get that set up.
Yeah, it is really fantastic. I keep thinking that and that it's always a long wish list of things I'd like to have, but there's some benefit in the way that people are organically setting up their testing infrastructure. GitHub is super flexible and GitHub Actions can do anything you want. It's really excellent that like B, for example, can run an entirely different test suite than other contrib modules. But I also would like to make it easier and somehow the default that test coverage is provided by contrib modules rather than everybody having entirely separate GitHub Action configurations. And maybe, my pipe dream for that might be there being a I can't remember what it's called. There's a workflow, but then there's also like a GitHub like command or something like that you could pull from the marketplace, a run backdrop tests, action. And that's what it is, an action versus a workflow. And you could just say run the tests, and then you would pass in the test group name or something like that, or the module, and then it would be just a 10-line YAML file. It's like use this action, run these tests, and you don't have to set up Apache and whatnot. And then everybody could share a common config for running in contrib modules. That would be great.
I think I floated something like that once, and Indigo Zeta was skeptical that there would be something generic enough that would work for everything. But I think for a lot of them, given the files I've seen, I think it could be done. And then you just update that one canonical action if you're going to be updating the version of Ubuntu or whatever it is, and all the tests will just be updated automatically.
Yeah, I mean, big risks associated with it. If that one action broke, everybody's tests would fail, but then everybody would be working to improve the central location rather than eventually, like, let's say, like you say, like the version of Ubuntu stops being supported, then everybody will be fixing the problem individually instead of it being in one spot. And you could always just not use it, you could just keep using the ad hoc approach if you so choose. So I don't know, there are options out there. I imagine that with enough time and maturity, these things will arrive. I say organically. What I really mean is that some of our amazing community members will put forth a lot of hard work and effort and then campaign and champion for it. And we will appreciate them. That's the only compensation we have. So, all right. Anything else for today, folks?
Can we just flag up 2231, the simplified database array?
Yep. So this
Which
issue,
just needs a bit of testing and review.
yeah, sorry, why don't you go ahead and start talking about while I pull it up?
Yeah, so this is about the current very simple database URL that we use in settings doesn't support a lot of complex passwords, and sometimes we'll get issues where people will install Backdrop, enter the database password, and then things will just fail without much information. So we wanted to get away both from using the very complex Drupal 7 thing where it's databases default array, and just have database equals array and put it in. So we're we've got it now, so it's working. It's had a bit of a first pass review, and it's had a bit more work, so it will benefit from a bit of testing. I've tested it both installing using B and installing using the UI. I'm not sure. There may be other things that other scenarios that need testing that I haven't thought of.
Yeah. Last I looked at this, it looked really great. You may have seen that I just posted a comment on the issue that it wasn't in the 1.30 milestone, but between you advocating for it and the state of this pull request, it should be in that 1.30 milestone. And that's often where I'm checking, at least frequently, for updates and changes. Otherwise, sometimes things kind of drop off my radar. So anyway, I put it in the 1.30 milestone because I think that there's a good chance we'll get it completed here, at least before January. So yeah, this is what it looks like. It changes our default database structure in settings.php from this one. It's actually not a one liner, from these 2 lines, and then once you add in database encoding to set UTF-8 MB4, it turns into 3 lines of code. And so the new structure is more lines, but separated. And most importantly of all, the username and password in this old format, you had to URL encode the password, and that threw a lot of people off, that they tried to use a symbol in their password and then they needed to URL encode it, and the whole thing really ruined the concept of, we want to make it easy to specify the database connection information, and if you can't type in the exact password, we've totally that this entire concept backfired on us and actually made it a lot harder and more confusing than it was supposed to be. So this new approach doesn't matter. There's no need to specify, no need to manually encode your password if it contains special characters. I also like that there's some defaults here, like you don't need to specify MySQL because MySQL is the only database connection we really support. And also, I really appreciate that as part of this change, we have changed. Previously, we introduced the emoji support at UTF-8 MB4 encoding as a variable that you had to add. It was off by default, but the installer adds it as part of the normal rewriting. So it's like it's off by default but then the installer adds it back, but that variable has to be there in your settings.php file for it to support emojis. But at this point, the normal chains of PHP and MySQL always support emoji, and that should be the default. And this is a great opportunity for us to just say, if you're using this array-based syntax, that is the default. So you don't need to specify it at all anymore, because there's a handy check in here that says, if the database is structured as an array, assume UTF-8 MB4 as the default. So hooray, less confusion, more clarity, better defaults. I really like this set of changes. Yeah, thanks for calling that out, Martin. All right. Any other thoughts or closing issues? Okay, well, we're at the top of the hour. Thank you, folks, for joining us today. It was kind of fun having the dynamic attendance with people hopping in and out. Irina was here for a couple minutes too, Laren. So it really emphasizes the fun live aspect of our weekly meetings. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll see you on the internet and talk to you next week.